Hello everyone. Today we'll be taking a look at Israel, Ukraine, and other conflicts of interest. As of this recording, it is November 10th, 2023. So, first of all, of course, taking a look at Hezbollah over here, we can see that usual hostilities, missile attacks, shelling, the usual going on between Israel and Hezbollah. So, what I'm mostly expecting from this is just pretty much this for the duration of the conflict, however long that may be. And over here, uh, Hamas saying that uh, operations against Israel are continuing in West Bank. Um, but for the most intriguing part here, so we can see, of course, this is the Gaza Strip. Israeli forces seem to have at least peeled off from the sea over here and tried to what I'm seeing here is perhaps trying to encircle the Ash-Shati refugee camp out here. So that seems to be their goal, from pivoting away from the sea and encircling it, perhaps to, from what I understand, this is where they are mostly concerned of where the militants are, where most Hamas uh, militants to be. So trying to separate the refugee camp from the rest and greater of Gaza City. That seems to be what they are appearing to do out here. And just taking a look, we can see that they're really starting to get into the very densely packed areas of Gaza City out here, and just the wider Gaza Strip in general. Um, so yeah, that's just what I really wanted to point out to out here. So a quick story here by Voice of America. We can see, Blinken doing some visits in a few Asian countries, and of course he has to talk about, the conflict that's going on, of course, in Israel and Gaza. So, he's talking about here for the most part, we have seen progress, we just need to see more of it. In reference to, Israel agreeing to pause military operations in certain areas for 4 hours each day, and also allowing flow of humanitarian aid, and Palestinians who want to flee certain areas where airstrikes are intense. So he's saying, yeah, yesterday will help, but more needs to be done. So what I really wanted to say here is that, of course, as long as this conflict is going, civilians are going to keep dying. That's just the nature of war, right? The largest casualty of any war are always civilians. So just in general, um, in terms of this conflict and how it's going and progressing, we can see that there can be steps to prevent further civilian casualties on whichever side, but by nature of this conflict continuing, there are, like, more people are going to die. It's just a fact. This conflict can't go on without civilians dying. So, trying to take steps to minimize civilian casualties is good, but if you want to completely eliminate them, this war has to be over, and that's just a fact. So here's a clip I wanted to show here really quick. These are, of course, in Gaza, and these are paramedics here inside a vehicle. And I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to show a few stills. And these lights you're seeing are airstrikes that are happening, and it only goes on for the first few seconds of the clip. So what I just really want to talk about here is that, of course, Israeli air power is completely overwhelming in this conflict. But also, just uh, the the moral and just emotional impact, I suppose, the psychological impact that this is going to have on individuals, not just civilians, but also just in terms of militants as well. Seeing, of course, huge um, building leveling bombs that go off, uh, bombs that just completely penetrate a building down to its ground floor and then detonate and completely level it within seconds. And then these militants, all they have are just a few guns and maybe some missiles made out of pipes. Um, it just highlights the way that of this way, and the war and the way it's being fought, in the way that it is. And it's just, especially the way it's going to be perceived by Gazan civilians themselves who are, in these situations. It's incredibly harrowing to see. All right, now pivoting over here to Ukraine really quick. So what we're gonna do is, since there wasn't really an update yesterday that was, pretty late of when it occurred. So the only update for yesterday was Verbova direction, so we can see day before yesterday and yesterday, Ukrainian forces seem to be pushing around a couple of kilometers east here. So as to what this will amount to, who knows? But it's interesting to see that they are now moving instead of west and south now to the east. So it's pretty significant considering, just in general how much it's moved. And just today, we can see that all it's been reported are just some very, very minor frontline clarifications. So this is, of course, we don't see any more movement, but this front line has been clarified. And one more area, which I believe was in the Bakhmut direction. If we can find it really, really quick over here. It's really hard, trying to have this entire front line memorized. So yeah, it was, I believe, southern Bakhmut was the only area. Yeah, like I looked the entire front line, and this was the only other change is right here. So other than that, there were no other frontline updates. Now, looking here at combat engagements that have been reported, we can see here that there are 59 combat engagements, which is surprising because you would think that we would see more Russian advantage considering their stepping up of combat engagements, but for the most part, we haven't really seen any of that recently. I mean, what mostly I've seen in terms of, combat footage is just, Russian forces, of course, trying to, assault Ukrainian positions, and then, their equipment is destroyed, of which we'll actually take a quick look at Oryx in a second here as well. But yeah, for the most part, there hasn't been at least any reported Russian gains. And just another of note, of course, lots of shelling going across the front line. All right, now looking at Oryx over here. So last time Ukraine was reported, they were at 4,700 in terms of equipment, and now they're at 4,721, which is, all equipment that is destroyed, damaged, abandoned, or captured. And moving over to Russia, we can see here that before they're at 13,020, now they're at 13,077. So definitely, you know, from what I've seen, as we talked about, Oryx not as consistently updated as it used to be, but these numbers in terms of Russian losses, these are believable because I mean, in terms of all the combat footage I've seen, of Ukrainian equipment destroyed and Russian equipment destroyed, and as we just talked about, of the Russian advances that seem to not hold very much or come up with any gains on the battlefield. It seems reflective in terms of just the destroyed equipment that we are seeing, um, not just at in combat, but also just in sheer numbers. And to just kind of drive it home, I'm just going to show a clip here. This is reported to be in the Kherson direction, and this is a Russian convoy here. And as we can see, this entire convoy here, as we can see, it is targeted by artillery here, and the front and the back seem to be both targeted. So it doesn't end well for them here. So just in terms of all the equipment that they seem to be really putting forward to this, um, these offensives and these assaults and operations. I mean, this is what it's going to, and as to why they're doing this, I don't really know. Just broad assaults across the entire front line, hoping to hold some gains, which albeit that's kind of what Ukraine was doing for a little bit too, but they seem to have at least some gains, and now Russia isn't only in the Avdiivka direction. Is there only point of which they seem to be having some relative gains, but as we can see, although this isn't the Avdiivka direction, but just in general at high cost. So of course we got to talk about Myanmar too. So here we can see that these are anti-junta forces, and they are operating in the Magwai region, which is different from, of course, the Shan state, of which the entire Operation 1027, of where a lot of these rebel groups have sort of coalesced and pointed their assault towards, which the Magwai region is a more central part of Myanmar. So this is further west from where most of the assaults have been going on recently. So it's not necessarily just this clip in general that I wanted to show, because there's mostly just these soldiers marching and just firefights that are happening throughout it. But what I mostly wanted to just talk about is that this conflict is broadening. This I guess whatever you want to call it, the civil war is heating up throughout Myanmar, not just one part. So a lot of not just media, like I talked about. BBC was talking about it, but a lot more media is starting to pick up this story. So which of course means that it's heating up, and expect to see more of this in the near future. All right, well, that's everything I really want to talk about here today. If you have any questions or anything you want to let me know about, anything that I really missed that I should highlight more, or any just opinions or some stuff you want to share, just let me know in the comments. And other than that, thanks for watching.